Hello, buddy. It's me, Ross, and welcome to another video. Today, I'm joined by good old Ben as we talk about Barry Cotter. He has left the club. His contract has been ripped up. He's going to be out of contract in the summer, but the club and himself have decided to end his contract now. And me and Ben are going to discuss his time at Town. A very interesting story. Barry Cotter, of course, signed by Mick McCarthy back in January 2018, and he made 4 appearances for the club. But he's got a very interesting story into Ben, and I'm just going to quickly get your overall thoughts on Barry leaving the football club. He has got a very interesting story, hasn't he?
Yeah, an interesting character, I think. You hear quite a good few things about him. Sad is probably not the right word, but you always want a happy ending in football, and obviously they're not actually that common. He never sort of made the impact I think we were all hoping he would do on long term. I don't think there'll be a single fan that is surprised that he's been released today by the club. Obviously, I'm sure all the fans and the club are wishing well. Of course, I do, but yeah, not surprised at all. Slightly disappointed, I guess, that he didn't have a bigger impact on the club and that right back slot that actually we do need. But yeah, he's obviously we're going on to talk about his career with Town, but we will of course wish him well and see how he goes from here.
Definitely, and let's look at his timeline then. So he signed in, I think, the basically deadline day of the January transfer window back in 2018, and it took him a couple of months until he made his debut, which was very known as Mick McCarthy's last game, the Barnsley 1-0 win at Portland Road. He started that game, his full professional debut for Town in the Championship, and he had a fantastic game. Of course, he got subbed off, which a lot of boos came about by Town fans. Can you remember that game? And he had a blinder, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was an absolute trailblazer down that right wing. I mean, we knew that he'd signed, but we hadn't seen anything of him. So we just thought it was another punt by Mick. Obviously he had quite a lot of punts while he was Town boss, and the odd one, came through, and we had sort of Mings, for instance, probably the best example of that. And when he played against Barnsley, I think most Town fans thought, crikey, we've unearthed another one here. When he was going up and down and, strong in the tackle, very athletic. And yeah, when he went off, I remember those boos and then sort of a standing ovation as he was leaving the field, the fans showing their appreciation of what we thought was a fantastic new talent. He was he's still young now, but very young. And yeah, I think he was just exhausted was the reason I think he had to come off in the end on reflection, not just people unhappy with Mick at the time, but yeah, we were all excited. I remember it was like the buzz thing to talk about was like, bloody hell, I know Mick's left, but what about Barry Cotter?
And of course, it was made famous before he signed for us that he looked like the Irish Neymar, because there's a few pictures of him. When he was at Limerick, he looked like Neymar. And we were joking about, what we got here then? And it's another punt that Mick has got well. And he, of course, played one more game that season, a 4-0 win against Reading. He came off the bench, but his second appearance. And then we didn't see him again until, of course, Paul Lambert gave him a chance in the EFL Trophy. Can you remember that time? He didn't play a single minute during the relegation season. Paul Hurst and then Paul Lambert came in. But I'm sure, like a lot of fans are thinking, where's Barry Cotter gone? Why is he not playing? We needed a right back as well at the time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously following football as you do, sometimes managers that your face doesn't fit, whether that be from the moment they get through the door or the first training session, or they say something wrong or do something wrong. Obviously Barry's got talent. Hopefully, as we said at the beginning, that he'll find another club after this. But for whatever reason, Hurst just didn't fancy him, and I think that probably was a big setback for him after starting against Barnsley, having the appearance against Reading. He probably thought, when the new manager comes in, I've got another chance to impress here. And for whatever reason, which we'll never find out, there wasn't a short list of players that Hurst didn't like, was there? It was quite a long list. So he wasn't alone. But he was, found himself in the under-23s. He's had to probably ply his trade again there, getting used to the way the club is run and what's expected of you, and the standards. And he obviously didn't reach those. So, element of sympathy for him in terms of the Hurst era wasn't a good era to be involved as a Town fan, a Town fan, yes, but a Town player on the periphery, which he was. But also perhaps he could have applied himself better To not have an appearance at all in a whole season when he obviously has talent. Maybe he needed to sort of have a look at himself and see if he could have done more. But yeah, as I said, not everyone got along with Paul Hurst, including the fans. So
Yeah, definitely won't go down that boat there about him. But of course, he went out on loan, Chelmsford twice, and then he got them opportunities. Firstly in the EFL Trophy, scoring that winning penalty against Peterborough on his birthday, 21st birthday, and then he got a rare appearance again, this time in the FA Cup against Coventry, and once again he did all right. He did okay, and we thought, okay, maybe Barry's got a chance here, a shot in the first team. Of course, COVID hit, so maybe he was in line to maybe play a few games. Maybe we won't know about that under Paul Lambert. But did you feel like maybe Barry Cotter is back? A chance for him to play?
Yeah, again, when he came back into the side, I mean, he obviously hit the headlines slightly by scoring the winning penalty. But yeah, Barry was back. I think we were excited again because Kane Vincent-Young, similar right backs in terms of that attacking intent and the athleticism. He's good in the air. Like I said, first when we touched about his when he first burst on the scene, like he has all the attributes to be a very good footballer. So I question whether it is something to do with his attitude. But when he played in the Coventry game, he didn't do himself any harm at all. And then, as you said, COVID hit and potentially, he could have. I think he could. Why couldn't he have played more this season? I think the fans have always asked that because whenever we have seen him, he hasn't let himself down at all. So there was obviously something going behind the scenes in terms of either his application in training or, for the under 23s. Perhaps he's been a bit unlucky, but as much as I'd like to sort of shout and moan and say, oh, Barry should have been playing or given more of a chance, sort of experience probably tells you there was something more possibly going on that maybe we didn't see or maybe we didn't know. But it's a shame. I wish we'd seen more of him because he was always exciting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I think he did have a few injuries as well. So maybe a few setbacks during that time. And I cover the academy when I can, and he sometimes plays centre back. Definitely this season for the under-23s, I think he was playing a lot of centre back. So maybe the coach was seeing if he can maybe mould into a centre back. But it seems like the club thought probably was an opportunity for him to get a new contract, and he's gone now, and I think he's got weirdly has a legacy here. I think people will still remember Barry Cotter whenever he, if he ever plays against us for another team. We'll wait and see. That's the final question, really, Ben. Is where do you think he'll end up? Will he go back to Ireland? The league at Ireland is growing. It's getting better, more competitive. It's a chance to play in Europe. Some of those teams they play in Europe, don't they? So where do you think he'll end up, or will he go maybe stay in England and try to come back up the leagues again?
I mean, it won't be an easy task, I don't think. We're sort of gone are the days, I think, where footballers can be picked up and people are going to have large squads. I think people are going to be looking at, particularly the lower leagues, League One, League Two, and the National League, that people will be looking to maybe even pay as you play sort of deals and keeping much smaller squads. I mean, we'll see over the coming months. I think Town are going to release. This is the first of many. Barry's releases. And yeah, like you touched on, Ross, he's had 4 appearances for the club, but almost every single one of them was memorable for one reason or another. So look, we wish him well. Will he end up in Ireland? Will he stay in England? I mean, I would have thought Chelmsford City would still be interested and probably sniffing about, seeing if they could offer him a deal like you'd have thought. Whether he sets his targets higher than that and looks for a League Two club. From what we've seen, he could definitely do that. I mean, I think he could definitely play at League Two level. I honestly couldn't tell you whether there'd be more money for him in League Two or back in Ireland. It depends the club size in Ireland. Obviously, they play different seasonals there. They're sort of just starting again their season. So it might actually suit him in terms of the timescales actually to go back to Ireland, start a new season there, and then do that circle all over again. Maybe hit the ground running back in Ireland and potentially then get a deal back in England, in a year or two's time. So if I had some money on it, Ross, my answer would be I'll go back to Ireland, start a season afresh, play over there, maybe play in a successful team, get into Europe, best case scenario for him, and then comes back to England.
Yeah, wait and see then. Of course, as you said, he's a long list of players out of contract this summer. I'm sure there'll be many other videos we'll be covering on players like maybe Freddie Sears, Emmy Hughes. We'll have to find out. I'm sure the club will announce that in the coming weeks. I'm sure a lot of fans will be disappointed about different players, but it's a big new build for Paul Cook in the summer, and he's already starting maybe with some of the players who probably just don't have a future at the club. But yeah, best of luck to Barry and Ben. Thank you for joining me, and let us know, fans. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on Barry Cotter leaving the club. Anyways, I've been Ross, and we'll see you in the next video.